Hi, I'm Margie from Marjorie's Candies, and I'm going to make for you today my favorite pie. It's a pecan pie. And you need to start with pecans that have been roasted. And the way you do that is you put them into the oven in a shallow pan at about, I do it at about 325, and I roast them for 10 minutes, and then I give them a stir, and then I roast them again for 10 minutes, and I give them a stir. And probably after that they're roasted enough. If they start to get a little bit brown, be careful because they could burn. Okay? So the other thing is that this pie goes into the oven at 375. And you might want to also put an edge around the pie, but I'm not going to start with the edge. And I showed you how to make this edge when I made the pumpkin pie. So we have a video for pumpkin pie. And the first thing we're going to do with this, and then I'll show you the ingredients that go in, but I'm going to brush my pie shell with, this is just an egg yolk that I added, I could take about 2 teaspoons of water to, and I'm going to brush my pie shell with this. It helps to seal the pie because this again is a custard. I mentioned that any kind of custard pie you might want to seal your pie crust. You let it dry. And then this recipe also calls for me to put this, before we pour the filling in, you want to put this pie shell into the oven and warm it up. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes, and we're going to, I'm not going to brush the very top of the pie shell here. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and show you the ingredients that go into the pie. Now let me show you what goes into the pie. We have 3 eggs, and we have 5 tablespoons of butter, and I use salted butter. There's no salt in this pie, except for the salt that's in the butter. This is 3/4 of a cup of corn syrup, and I like to add some maple syrup. So this is real maple syrup, 1/4 of a cup, and here's 1 cup of sugar. And here's our roasted pecans that are sort of chopped but not too finely. Now, there's also 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So I'm going to get a bowl, and we're going to whisk all these ingredients together. And I'm going to put my pie shell in the oven now so it can warm up, and I'll be back. Now I'm going to put the pie shell into the oven to warm it up. And by the way, I finally have a 9-inch pie pan. My sister bought it for me. And I told her I really wanted it. When she goes, yes, you knew that. She's had it since my last birthday, which was in August. So she gave it to me, so now I have one. So I'm very excited about that. I've only had 10-inch pies up until then. Okay, let me get the eggs going here. And I'm going to use a whisk just to get it started. Break them up, get them a little bubbly. Okay, now we're just going to pretty much add the rest of the ingredients. This is our 3/4 of a cup of corn syrup, and our, whoop, come here, you're stuck, 1/4 of a cup of maple syrup, 1 cup of sugar, lots and lots of sugar, huh? Okay, that's the butter, and a teaspoon of vanilla. Many recipes say you can use some rum. Okay. We want to get this going because we have our pie shell in the oven. And then you whisk all this together. Then I'm going to add my nuts, give it a stir with my Just sort of fold them in. That's your pie. Now let me get this out of the oven. Of course, I can't find one of my pot holders. They never are where I want them to be. Let me close the oven up. That noise you hear is I'm using a wet washcloth. Okay. Just pour the pie crust in and scrape your bowl so you can get everything in there. Okay. And that's pretty much it. I always have a million pecans because I make turtles for my candy. So you can place a few on top to decorate it. Now I'm not going to put the aluminum foil around it, but I'm going to check it to see if maybe it will need it. Okay. Put you back into the oven. I'm going to set the timer for 35 minutes, but it will take probably a little longer. I put the rack in the middle of the oven so it will bake evenly, and we'll be back pretty soon to see how it looks. The pie is ready to come out of the oven. Let's see how it looks. Well, that looks pretty good. There. Pecan pie. And it should be, I don't know if you can see, should be a little teeny bit shaky in the center. Okay, but if you touch it, it should feel a little bit firm, but shaky, because it's going to continue to cook like any custard pie would. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, and I'm so happy I got this pie up on the internet before Thanksgiving, because we are so busy with our candy this year for the holidays, for Marjorie's Candies. But thank you so much for joining us, and I'll be back soon. Bye.